Everyone, this is the regular meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board. It is Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. We have present Kurt Hathaway, Mary Ashcroft, Matt Getty, and Sharon Russell. And we're set to go at 6 o'clock. Please rise and join me with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, all. We are take a look at these select board minutes. We can't do July 2nd because we don't have Joe here, and that was a 3-member quorum. We can do July 16th. So we'll start with that. Motion's been made to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Any additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor of approving the July 16th minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Kurt's abstaining. The July 23rd meeting was the special meeting to set the tax rate. I was here, Kurt was here, and Matt was here.
Approve.
Motion's been made to approve.
Second.
And seconded. Discussion, additions, deletions. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Sharon abstains. Joe's abstained. Okay. Yep. Okay. Any board member announcements? Okay, no board member announcements. And I don't believe I have any updates. Thank you very much. So next item on the agenda is questions from the floor or public comments, and these are for folks who are not otherwise on the agenda. Got 2 people here. I'm guessing you folks might want to be heard.
Yeah, definitely, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
One at a time, both together?
You go ahead first.
Just about the unregistered vehicles.
Oh, okay. Why don't you, Mr. Kumar, please come up and. Good evening.
Good evening. So I wasn't here for the last meeting, but I did read it through the newspaper. I should have read the minutes. I didn't get a chance to. That we had 24 unregistered vehicles on the property.
That was from our town constable.
Yes. Well, right after that, we did a walkthrough of the property, but I didn't see 24 vehicles that were unregistered. I mean, we've been working with Chief Dumas on trying to find which vehicles were either at expired plates or no registration or expired registration, but I didn't find close to 24.
Okay.
It's probably like 12 or 13. Yes, and there are some vehicles that have been abandoned, which we are scheduled to tow. So that was because I didn't understand where the 24 number came from, because when he came by the property, he just started taking photos and people were panicking. So that was the reason there was a confrontation, because he just came by and started taking photos, and because it's very awkward for someone just to start taking photos of everything and just driving away like that.
Okay, and that was JP Faignant?
JP.
Okay.
So we are actively getting rid of these vehicles, and people that have no registration, either trying to get a temporary, which is hopefully leading to a full registration. Yeah, so that we are actively working on that, and we've been working on this since January, February.
Okay.
So these are vehicles that we're slowly trying to get off the property. Some of the people that are living there, they have vehicles that have just been parked there. They don't stay there anymore, so those are ones we're gonna get towed immediately.
Okay. Matt?
So it's good to hear this progress.
Yes.
So just clarify, you're saying that there are some from past residents that
So they were staying there. That when we walked through the property, we realized that because what happens is sometimes they don't want the car anymore, so they might sell it to someone at the hotel. I don't know how they managed to do that without any sales papers or documents or so. When we try to do something about that car, we find out that it belongs to this person instead of this person. We have no way of verifying that, so Chief Dumas was glad enough to help us to find out if these vehicles were actually registered to a certain person. So it's 4 or 5 of them we found out don't even belong there anymore. So we're gonna have those too.
And then when new people come, if they're new residents and they're coming with a vehicle,
Yeah.
do you have any kinds of policies with them about
We
what's
take
required?
their license plate, but what I found out because I'm from New York, so I didn't realize this was a thing that just happened in Vermont. I know you guys used to give the Vermont stickers on the back of the plates.
We used to,
They don't issue that anymore.
yeah,
So it's kind of hard for us to know which vehicles are registered as of 2024. Before that, they were giving the stickers. So what I asked people start to do was see if they can give us a copy of their registration. At least we have an idea of this vehicle is registered
Okay.
with the state and with the local ordinance. Yeah.
okay.
Don't we have window stickers now? Don't we have window stickers? Or is that last year's thing? That's now.
Those are the emission
That's
test.
just for your inspection, not
Inspection.
Right, not the registration.
So it's kind of hard for us to know, but I think that's a good indicator. If that's in compliance, then it's probably registered. So at least we can kind of base it off of
That's
that.
true, yeah.
So I thought that had replaced the back plate, but
Drew, how's the door situation come as far as locking them up?
So we placed 4 doors. I have another order for the back door, the one that was the main issue, the one where the question was where the drugs and everything was coming back. I have a company that's going to replace the whole door, and we already ran the wiring for the alarms. I think we're gonna have the alarm and a control panel behind the front desk, so we'll know exactly where a door has been opened or not, and we have cameras on all sides.
Okay, and there's an alarm that will sound good, because that, getting people annoyed enough to pay attention might also be helpful.
Yeah, that was one thing that we thought of, but my only concern is it's not a drop ceiling, it's a low ceiling.
Mhm.
So the siren will go off. My problem is someone tampering with it, because that eventually will happen, which we'll repair and we'll replace, and the person will be evicted. But that is an ongoing issue that we're going to have because we have such low ceilings. There's some areas where we have higher ceilings where we won't have an issue, like the ones in the south wing, the one all the way in the back.
Mhm.
But the double door exit is a very low ceiling.
Okay,
So that's might be an issue, but other than that, we'll take care of it.
okay,
when is that work getting done?
So the company that we're using is Green's Auto Smith, I believe. It's a company that they've been using for several years. He already ordered the alarms, and that should be done within the next 2 weeks. We already ran the wiring. We are running the wiring. We haven't run it completely yet. And he has the alarms already. He's just gonna put them in probably by the end of next week, without any delay. I can't guarantee that.
Drew, have you considered getting a hold of the Rutland Housing Authority and how they run the bridge housing program on Woodstock Avenue?
Yes, I will. Regarding the cars, yes.
Regarding cars, just how you deal with the folks down there. I understand you have a big heart, but when people break the rules, sometimes I think if you're a little harder, you can make things happen a little bit faster. Just to hold people
Absolutely.
accountable. Then if you have somebody that you suspect is dealing drugs there, you can get stocked and come just have them get
Sweep them right up.
and pull it out of it.
Absolutely.
If you do that a couple times, then that clientele will not want to be there anymore. You'll know that if I go there, my car should get towed. Just a thought.
We have gotten rid of a few vehicles that we've just seen that has no activity, just been sitting there for months. I mean, I got here back in July, and there were a few vehicles that I just remember just sitting there.
still there, yeah.
That are still there. But they belong to someone. But when I went through the list on the 26th, and then today's the list has gotten shorter, but there are still the same 4 or 5 vehicles that we will get rid of.
Okay,
What about campers?
So the issue with the camp, one of them we are going to get rid of because that was the one next to the garbage.
Mhm.
There are two campers that, as of like there's the thing with the 80 days. So people are planning on living in the campers, but they're not going to stay on the property. They're just going to have the hammers and they're going to go to a different offsite campground possibly. So they're just planning for that. So there's 2 or 3 RVs. One of them we already got rid of. There's another one that we're also, that's one of the vehicles that we're trying to get off the property. But 2 or 3 people, once their voucher ends, they're planning on moving to a campground. So that eventually all the vehicles that are campers will be removed from the property.
Okay. Progress, chief?
Down there?
Yeah,
Uh,
okay,
we're good.
good. Well, thank you very
He's been
much.
a great help, so we're actively getting through this list.
We find him helpful too. So,
One other thing. if you don't mind.
yes.
On the 80 days, have you found like, do your residents as of July 1, are they opting to continue right through the 80 days, or did some people move out and plan to come back later? Or
So some people, we've had a few families, they had a camper. They decided that, hey, look, July, it's warm. We can go outside. We can go to a campground. We can stay there and not use their 80 days till later. They plan on coming back, but that doesn't mean they're going to come back to the Cortina. It could be any other hotel. Most of the people are probably just going to wait. They're already using their 80 days.
Mhm.
So that was since July 1st. So whatever days they have left, they'll use it now and then see what happens. Where we don't really have an idea of what's going to happen after September 15th.
So when the state folks were down for the meeting that you were at, they were going to try and work with you a little bit. Have you seen any increased cooperation from the state people?
We have every now and then we will have the similar ideas and similar questions. We're also kind of in a situation where we're trying to get more and more information as the date approaches, because we really don't have an understanding of what's going to happen. September 5th, I'm saying September 15th because that's I think the 80th day from July 1st and September 15th. Some people might be a little bit past that. Some people might be on September 15th. So that's kind of like the range that we're going to get. We really don't have an idea of what exactly who's going to be told, hey, look, we don't have a voucher. You're not going to be renewed. We don't know.
Okay. Kurt, any questions?
I think we've hashed most of everything out
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, I'm sorry that JP isn't here, but he let us know he wasn't going to be here, so, yeah. And we can, I'm sure if you have something to show, he'll,
Oh, no. Me and
Okay,
Chief Dumas,
okay,
and,
you're fine
we're
then.
working on this list actively. So
okay.
he's actually the one that helped us run a lot of these plates anyway. So that was just to show that we're actually working on this.
Sharon, any questions?
Just if when people come in, do you ask them if their vehicle's registered and do you look at their registration?
We do ask for a license plate. So, I mean, we're assuming if they have a plate, they must have some form of registration. But we don't actively ask for registration, but with the fact that there's no registration sticker anymore, we started taking people's copies of registrations.
Okay,
So at least we have some way of identifying, hey, this vehicle is not just abandoned or unregistered. We know what it is.
good.
Because we wouldn't know
I
otherwise.
think if you get in touch with Rutland Housing Authority, talk to Kevin Loso, what they have their protocol. They've already paved the way, the blueprint, if you will, on how to run the program.
I'll definitely. Do you have his direct contact info or?
It's Rutland Housing.
Okay.
I have it.
Okay, anything else?
I don't know. Any questions?
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in and I appreciate your work on
I'm gonna
this
try to
with the
come
chief.
as often as I can.
Okay.
Now I don't have to drive back to New York and back, so I'll try to be here.
Okay, well, thank you.
Try to keep you guys updated on progress.
Glad to see you whenever you come in. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, your turn.
Okay, do you want me to come up there? or
Yes,
do you-
please,
okay.
because of the camera and so on.
Hi there, I'm
Hi.
Brenda Siegel. I'm the Executive Director of End Homelessness Vermont, which is a statewide organization. Before I came here for a specific reason, but I wanted to answer a couple of your questions, if that's okay, because I can help with a few of those things because I work with those clients. As far as the campers go, it is, I think most of the providers in the state are, if somebody can access a camper rather than sleeping outside in our towns, we're encouraging and supporting them through the process of getting that camper at least livable enough to survive outside. And so we are also helping people get them registered so that they count as legal vehicles. And on that same front, the vehicles that are not registered at Cortina and at other hotels, we have started a program where people can let us, can fill out a form, providers or hotels or the individuals, letting us know that they, for some reason, are not able to get their car registered, whatever it is, whether it's a sales fee or I'll just out myself as a person in poverty. I've not several times not had my car registered when I just couldn't afford it. And now that I'm not in poverty, I want to just support people in making sure that they are able to get through that. And so we have started that. We're working with Brock in this community. We're working with Brock, and we're also working with the Agency of Human Services Field Service Coordinator to see if there's ways that we can get support to help them through whatever they need.
Okay.
So that's one thing we're doing.
Thank you for that work.
Thanks. Thank you. And then also I want to just explain what people are doing in the 80 days so that I know that. So we have a lot of clients in the Cortina because we primarily work with people with disabilities, and there are a lot of people experiencing both physical and mental health challenges or disabilities that are there. Because there's this room cap starting in September, a lot of people are using this time, the 80 days now, because they have no guarantee of shelter after that. And we're trying as hard as we can. I mean, it's really a pretty difficult challenge, and we're not succeeding as much as we'd like to in finding some place for those folks to go. We do have clients who definitely will not survive outside, and we're not sure what's going to happen. I apologize. Because there is no exceptions at this point. So even people who are like bedridden and being lifted with a Hoya lift or in wheelchairs or have severe psychiatric disabilities, at this moment, there's no exceptions. We are hoping that that will change for people who don't have any ability to survive.
So are the state agencies working with you, particularly on those folks?
I have a meeting scheduled to talk about the list of clients we have, and also working with other providers across the state, including in Rutland, for any clients that we might not be on our list, so that we can include them when we're talking about this issue.
And who's the meeting scheduled with?
I will be speaking with Commissioner Winters.
Okay.
And I also work, just so you know a little bit about End Homelessness Vermont, we have 2 economic service workers that are basically assigned to the project that we work on with disabilities. And so we work every single day, day in and day out, like as a team with them on that issue. And people who, we have encouraged some people to try to use their 80 days now, but it's hard when people are experiencing homelessness, especially if they're newly homeless, to conceive of the fact that they wouldn't be able to find housing in that time period. And so people have opted to stay, especially the fear that they won't be able to come back to the hotel that they're comfortable in. So, sorry, I got a little upset there. It's very hard. And then just so you know, this Department of Children and Families, and we don't get an Agency of Human Services, the providers also, and the individuals and the hotels do not get information from them before like a few days before something happens, and the shelters. And that is extremely challenging. In fact, during the March and April time, our organization put out 5 newsletters to all the hotels in the state to explain to people what was happening. The state in that time period did not put out one. And so we are trying to get more information faster. So I just wanted to make sure, and when we do get it, if the hotel hasn't gotten it, I think Drew can verify that we right away tell the hotels.
Okay.
So
that was part of the follow-up to the state trying to assist, and it doesn't sound like that is going as smoothly as we had hoped.
I would say that we End Homelessness Vermont has a really good partnership, and so we are fortunate in that way, and we try to take whatever we have, whatever information we have, and give it to anyone who's not getting that same information. But even we sometimes are like, despite being right there all the time, we're not getting the information quickly enough a lot of times. Sometimes I do press on our legislative leaders to ask them if, and try to push it along. So, I can update you all as well when we have information, if that helps at all. If not everyone's getting it.
Matt?
Question. When you talk about folks with profound disabilities, physical disabilities, like you mentioned, this seems like an elementary question, but I think it's important to understand what's going on. Can you give us an example or speak generally about what was the solution for these folks before? Because this program pretty much came out of COVID. Is it an issue of there now not being sufficient subsidized apartments available, or specifically, what is the issue that is leading now in our housing crunch, which has a lot of factors to it, to these folks being here and not having another?
There is almost no accessible housing in our state. So as people are losing maybe the accessible housing they did have, landlords across the state, for a variety of reasons, some because of need and some just because, have raised rent, sometimes $1,000 or $2,000. And there you can, as you know, no cause evict people, which sometimes falls really heavily on people with disabilities because they're a little more challenging to have as tenants, for a variety of reasons. If they have physical disabilities and they need a caregiver, for example, then there may be challenges with the property, and we don't have enough of a human services system in our state to adequately support those folks. Also, the nursing home shortage has created a situation so that even if somebody wants to go into a nursing facility or an assisted living facility, there are no Medicaid beds. So that if you're in poverty, you're not able to get into that facility, because we spend a lot of time trying to get our clients who are willing and want to, which are a lot of them, into these facilities, and we are unable. We try every single one. Choices for Care works with us. Dell does work with us. Department of Aging and Independent Living. We have endless team meetings about it, and we are not able to get the nursing care facilities to open up more Medicaid beds. And I believe the legislature looked into if they could force them to, and they were not able to, because it is they would prefer private pay. So does that answer your question? There wasn't a solution before. There were people outside in wheelchairs. There still are people outside in wheelchairs, and that's some of the most heartbreaking situations that I just can't believe we do.
Sure.
So there's people outside in wheelchairs and no place to go.
Mhm.
Well, I ran the open door mission for 40 years. We take people in wheelchairs. We do have openings. So let me finish. So to say there's no place, there is, but we have rules. There's no drinking, there's no drugging, and we test. But we work with people with disabilities. People go out during the day. If somebody's in a wheelchair, we're not going to put them outdoors. That's unfair. Okay?
Yep. That's good to know. There's a lot of shelters who don't actually have accessibility. And in Rutland that I know of, is not where I find people outside. It's oftentimes in Burlington. It's oftentimes in other districts.
Yeah.
Also, there are people with substance use disorder or which I think I've talked about before here is another one area where I do a lot of work, who are struggling and are outside. Maybe they're veterans, maybe their disability
But
is
the
like that.
veterans, do you work with the VA at all?
Yeah, we work with all the providers across the state.
Okay, because the VA will find a place for them.
They have not been able to always find a place for someone. We have a lot of clients who are veterans, and they are trying, but they can't. There's just not enough open spaces for all of them, and that's what we're finding.
Well, I have a suggestion, and this is just hear me out. Instead of pouring millions of dollars into the Cortina, wouldn't it behoove the state to buy up different places where they can build small houses? Okay, so they rent the small houses at a decent price for 2 years. If they pay their rent every month, my feeling is it would behoove the state to let them pay the mortgage off on that small place, and it's theirs. Because if you change the environment, you change the behavior.
So I will let you know that I advocate a lot in the legislature. This is what I came here to talk about, for exactly things like this. I am extremely frustrated at you. What you guys see often publicly of me is asking to continue the program because it's the only place for people to go. What you don't see is all the time I spend in the legislature asking them to do something else. And so when it comes down to the last 10 minutes and it's either we're going to put everybody outside or we're going to continue the program, that's when I'm advocating for that. But you don't see the place where that's what you don't get to see. But I will let you know one more update before I actually say why I came, which is that there's a General Assistance Hotel Task Force, Hotel Motel Task Force, or Program Task Force that the legislature created, that where there are supposedly 13 people appointed, but there's actually only 12 of the organizations that sent people. I was appointed by Vermont Center for Independent Living, so I'm on that task force. And one of the things we're talking about is how to keep people continuously sheltered and move away from the hotel program. So those are things that are going to be discussed in those there's 7 left in the meeting. So there are 8 total meetings. So I can tell you that update. And the next one is August 6th, and I believe you can watch it on Zoom. And if there's a GA.
Is this a study committee for the legislature and making recommendations toward January's?
It's not considered a study committee, but
Okay.
it's considered a task force, and there will be a report at the end.
Okay.
It isn't chaired by this. There are 3 people from the administration, but it's chaired by people outside the administration. So it's a little bit different than we've done in the past.
Okay.
It's an interesting group of individuals who all work in the field. Except, actually everyone there works in the field. And 2 people who have experienced homelessness, one of whom who was recently in the GA program is on the task force. So the other reason that I came here, besides the registered vehicles, I wanted to make sure I updated you with what we were doing, is because I am asking as an individual, I was not asked to do this. I was as an organization, I really feel like the contract that you have with the Cortina needs to be amended to have one of the staff members be able to stay. And the reason is because I find the need for him there incredibly important, especially my clients with complex needs. And he would be cut out by the current contract. And I believe that Drew is trying extremely hard to follow and stay up to date and get in compliance with your contract. And that's really important to him. I've spoken with several of the area providers about this issue and asked what their feelings are. And we all rely heavily on Sean Breyer to support us and support making sure our clients are getting their documentation in. These are clients that can't do it on their own. And he never, ever does interact with them without other people present. And he is very good at his job. There's more that I would say if I wasn't in a public meeting about this, but that I can't say now. But for example, our clients with severe psychiatric disabilities like schizophrenia, he's incredibly supportive and helps us get through that process. I don't think those of us that are providers feel very about the idea of him not being there. We feel like our clients would be less safe, not more safe, not because of anything that's the fault of the hotel, but because he is very good at the work that he's doing. And I believe, I'll say my own belief, which is that people do deserve to rehabilitate. I will also let you know that I have my own set of challenging, probably stigmatizing beliefs about people who are sex offenders, and I'm just being open about that. And it's taken a lot. I would never put my clients in a position where they were unsafe. I would always be working really hard. I learned everything I could about this particular staff member as soon as I learned the information and asked incredibly detailed information about what kind of treatment, what kind of support. I talked to people who had worked with him and people who had treated him to make sure that I felt safe, and I really assessed whether or not we continued to feel safe working with him and our clients. And I really do.
Thank you for your comments. Sharon.
I have a comment. The recidivism rate of a sex offender is like 80%. let me finish. In no way would I support somebody that's a sex, they're manipulators. So what you may see as Mr. Good Guy, well, Mr. Good Guy might be good, but I wouldn't want him around my children. And I don't feel that people that are in homelessness deserve to have a sex offender running the front desk.
So
I don't believe it.
So I do want to tell you about the sentencing project. So 50% of our organization is housing advocacy. We're like an office of housing advocate, and 50% is advocacy and research. The sentencing project, based on that, came from federal data, which I'm happy to send to all of you, said that recidivism rate for people over 9-year period for sex offenses is only 7%. There's recidivism rate for other offenses, but not for sex offenses. And so that is a 9-year recent study on this issue. And Again, I can't talk about where I come from on this issue in a public meeting, but what I will say is that I do not take lightly the idea of people being safe or unsafe. And this is not what I'm seeing. This was incredible, need. I did incredible research, background information, checking everything when I found out, which is things that I don't think Drew or other people in this room necessarily know about, although I've talked to Chief Dumas about this. But I don't think they know how much background I did after I found out, because I didn't make public that I was concerned until I felt like I had all the information. And I am no longer, I'm not concerned, because I'm not concerned ever. I'm not concerned. I know lots of people who we work with who are sex offenders who I may or may not be more concerned about, but I am not concerned about this person.
Again, thank you for your information. Any further questions from any?
I just have one request.
Okay.
You said all the people that have the campers that living in them, it's because they have a camper, they can't go to the Home Depot, because then I got to deal with the people that run those places, that own the property, rent to Home Depot. They camp there. They'll try to camp in Green Mountain Plaza. Can't camp there. Any place there's a business, you just can't just set up your camper and live there, because there's a whole set of problems that we have to deal with, and the businesses don't want them camping in their parking lots.
So the providers, I think, are working on where people can safely do these things, for sure. But these people are going, we don't have any choice. We tried really hard to change it. We don't have any choice. They're going to be outside, and we feel like it's safer for the community and safer for the individual if they have at least some kind of way to lock themselves in somewhere. And so whether it's a car or a camper, that's better than the sidewalk or the woods. And so we're working with Brock. We're working in this district. It's different in every district, but we're working with Brock. We're working with others to make sure that we're actually finding places that are as safe as we can be. The best thing that I'm asking of towns and communities, and I think other providers as well, is to find a way to work together to figure out where those places are, so that people do know where to go. Because they have to sleep, and we don't have any choices. We're talking about not in Rutland, but in the state, we're talking about thousands of people that will run out of their 80 days in September. It's not, they have to go somewhere. So I know that that's really rough. As someone that views it as just a heartbreaking humanitarian crisis, it was very hard for me. I did an info session at the Cortina and other hotels last week, and it was very hard for me to relay that information. If I could change it and find somewhere for them to be inside, I would do anything I could, even if it could just help 10 people.
Okay.
So
thank you for your work. We appreciate it, and for the update.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Okay. Are there any other members of the public who are not on the agenda for tonight who wish to be heard? And I'm looking at the screen, and I'm looking at the back of the room, and I'm not seeing anyone. So we'll continue. Ed Dumas, Town Police Chief.
It's close to the end of the month, but it is not the end of the month, so I don't have the stats from at this point in time.
That's a safe out.
I did attend a meeting, I want to say it was Monday. No, it was last Monday with the BPA? BPA up by Olivia's. They had a person from the Vermont Digger there asking about the voucher program and the homeless situation, issues the towns had at the Cortina. Eric McGuire, one of the representatives, he was there. The people in the psychiatric part, the people there that were deal with the people, they were there, and he asked us a series of questions about what we thought. So yeah, we told him the biggest thing I think the takeaway was that the state provided all this funding with no guardrails whatsoever. There was no, they just threw money at it, and that was going to solve the problem, and it's not going to solve the problem. And in the process, some people got very rich off it at the expense of the people of the state, and unfortunately, the people who are homeless were kind of like used, I think, to get rich. So, yes, they're supplying a need, but the state provided no wraparound services whatsoever for these people that are in need, none at all. So that was kind of the takeaway we got from that. We've been pretty busy the last 2 weeks. Jimmy's gone away. We had a lot of things happening. Today we dealt with an intoxicated person first thing this morning, 9 o'clock in the morning at the Green Mountain Plaza, who his BAC was 0.353 at before 10 o'clock this morning. So
Put some effort into that one.
supposed to have
Standing
an
up.
interlock device, so he can't drive a car unless he has that. And he didn't have that, and he's not supposed to drive because he had conditions not to drink and drive. But apparently, didn't mean a whole lot to him. So, and he hit one of the buses, almost ran somebody over, knocked over sign, and we had several calls, but we were busy on East Pittsford Road, a different part of town, with a vehicle off the road, trying to figure out if somebody was okay or not. So we've been very busy.
That was just Tuesday.
Yes. Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay. Let's look at that. Any questions for our police chief? No. Thank you, chief. Barbara Noyes Pulling, Town Planning Commission Chair. Good evening.
Good evening. Yep, good to see everyone. Interesting conversations again, the select board meeting. Yeah. I don't have too much. We are planning for the townwide celebration to do. We're gonna concentrate mostly on river corridors, but we'll have other things to talk about and show as well. But we're gonna have a presentation on river corridors and what they are, how they can help, what it means to the town. And so we'll have some slides showing on a monitor, and we'll have the map, the river corridor map. We're hoping to also have a bit of an exhibit on the Velomont Trail. That's the biking trail that goes from community to community in Vermont, and they're still working on the routes that go through Rutland. And they come from the north and they go west to Castleton and Fairhaven Way. That's where it's going to go, in our immediate vicinity. And we'll figure out some other things that we can do at the townwide celebration as well. And at our upcoming meeting this week, we'll start to take a look at the street and sidewalk ordinance and some other things that we've had on the back burner.
Okay. Questions for our Planning Commission Chair? Nope. Thank you, and thanks to the Planning Commission for your good work, and we look forward to seeing your display. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director. And in very light colored yellow ink, there are 2 action items.
Yep.
under Mike's. Okay, so we'll start with your report and then we'll go to the action.
Okay, so, obviously we've had a very warm summer, so the pool has been very busy, which is great. That's what it's there for. Big thanks to the guards. I mean, it's hot every day, it seems. And, you know, when you're sitting up there baking, you know, my hat's off to them. But that's what they're paid for, and they do a wonderful job. And it's been a great summer so far. Lots of people. If you want, I keep track every day how many people attend the pool, and I can give you a final figure at the end is how many people pass through the gates each year.
Do you, and you do keep track of that each year?
I do.
Okay, I'm thinking, looking forward someday, when we need to replace the pool, we might be applying for grants, and those statistics are exactly what we need for that. So
I have spreadsheets of
great.
at least I know I have at least 3 or 4 years that I've been tracking how many people come in every day. So I do have that. We've been doing some painting. We painted the baseball dugouts at Northwood, the big baseball field. They needed a coat, so we did that this week. We will be doing a paint overhaul at Dewey on Monday as well. We're turning the color to blue instead of tan. So we're painting the building and the dugouts, and that'll spice it up quite a bit. So if you drive by and see that, it'll look a little different. Speaking of Dewey, we replaced the tennis court surface probably 5 or 6 years ago. And when we did that, we just did the parking lot fence. The other remaining 10-foot of fence for 3/4 is circa 1970 and needs to be replaced. I have more than enough money in the depreciation account and have a quote from Praticos, who is our preferred vendor, of about $8,000 and change to remove and replace with fencing. So I'm just asking for if you're okay that I go ahead and do that. It's one of our last
Has the
fencing,
rec committee
right?
seen the proposal and you guys okay?
And we can go through that.
Yeah,
It's
but-
just replacing fencing.
All right.
So
So I make a motion that we give you the okay to replace the old fencing
Mhm.
and put in the new.
Price not to exceed
Price not to exceed.
9,000.
from the,
Preferred vendor of Praticos fencing.
right?
From preferred vendor.
Depreciation account.
Praticos.
Sorry, depreciation.
And money from
Yes.
the depreciation
Yes,
account. I
that's
think we
right.
got it covered.
Yep,
I
that's
think we
right.
got the whole thing.
Yeah.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion.
I think it's important that we do some things at Dewey because sometimes the folks at that end of town feel a bit neglected. So I
That would
think,
be my end of town. Yes. Yeah.
and I think to spruce that up, because in the beginning, it was Dewey that was the field. And then we kind of let it slip. So I think it's important that we're painting the building and that we're replacing. what
We're
needs-
replacing the infield in the fall with sod and part of the outfield because we've just been blown away down there. So we're gonna go we're ripping it all up and putting in sod, which will again come from depreciation, but that's happening in the first week of October. And I've already
Yeah.
alerted them that we're doing that, at our last meeting. So that's on the horizon to get that back up to, you can't always get the grubs right away. And
Hmm.
they obviously got the best of a lot of people in the area. So that's
The other thing I wanted to say is I think it's important. I know Mary's been up to see it. I don't know if you have, Kurt. They've painted the whole building.
Up in
And what a
Northwood.
difference. It just,
yeah, it's just
So,
a nice color.
Jamie likes it. My
Yeah.
daughter Jamie.
I haven't
she
seen
thought
it
it
in
Very
a
well.
while, so that's good. I'm glad she likes it.
yeah, I just think it's important that people realize that as a select board, as a rec committee, that we are doing improvements and we are maintaining the people's ownership of what we have here in Rutland town.
And that's low cost maintenance, just a great job. The senior luncheon, we had 10, 10.
Move on the
Oh, I'm
fence.
sorry, we do have a
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
And it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion on the fence replacement motion?
Oops.
Thanks, Kurt.
We're gonna want that.
If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
There, now you can spend the money.
Moving right along.
Flew right past it. The senior luncheon, we had, what did I say? 10? We had 10, and 13
was-
hungry lifeguards.
It was
And,
very good.
the food was good. Byron cooked. Thank you to Byron. Thank you to, Kamuta's Market for providing us with, he was plan B. Byron's, had not had his steers out to, market yet, so he didn't have beef, which we normally get from Byron. But he was great right there and cooking. So we do kind of have a plan. I know that's one of your action
It is.
number D. So we,
Yeah.
if we want to quickly talk about that.
Okay, so yes, and thank you for the luncheon and thank the lifeguards. I did on my way out, but they deserve kudos for that.
No problem.
I did kind of poll the folks who were there, which were the usual folks who show up at the Rutland Town Seniors Luncheon. And one of the reasons why there were so many fewer folks is because the leadership structure that had been in place with the president and vice president and all of that has kind of fallen apart. So I said to them, how would you feel if the town rec department took over Rutland Town Seniors and provided that structure and the leadership and they were fine with it. I think there was no one really ready to step forward. And it's a lot of work on one person. So I think we should proceed. I think I've raised it before, but proceed with the notion that the Rutland Town Seniors will be under the rec department and the rec director will move forward with setting up the events, reorganizing a group, and doing what's necessary and publicizing. One of the things we're going to do, well, let me first get a sense from you folks. Are you okay with that?
I am. How do you feel about it, Mike?
We've had preliminary discussions in our committee meeting, which I really don't all want to go into right now, as far as my plans.
Yeah.
My only question is is there money that's set aside for seniors in the general budget that when we come to budgeting time that we can talk about that, bring that
Well,
up?
there's two things. There is a separate account
Mhm.
in the town for Rutland Town Seniors. And yes, we do a separate appropriations each year for
So
them.
that would be our discussion at budgeting time to bring that over. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem doing that
Mhm.
right now with help. And someone, Jim
Mike,
Schultz's
I'm
wife
willing
just
to
sent
step
me-
in and help you.
I just need emails so we can start
Yes.
to get stuff going and we can start and then build back up. I
Yep.
do not mind doing that at all,
Great.
but it's like, it really just kind of like it fell off a cliff.
Yes.
And it's like, and they don't always, they're not all email,
So we can get what we have for emails, but then we're also going to have a table at townwide celebration
Yeah.
and have seniors sign up the old fashioned way, fill out a form. And get their don't snicker.
We'll be there soon enough. my
Yeah,
friend.
right. Fill out a form so we get their emails and we can
You'll be
start.
quiet over there, young man.
And
I'm
we
reverting to
can
the two seniors. They can
rebuild the
figure the
group.
thing out.
And you'll have a core to start at, reaching out
Right.
to.
And so it's going to be a little bit of a process. So anybody that
Yes.
wants to help, please let me know.
Okay.
I don't mind
I don't
taking
mind
under the
jumping in
umbrella.
and helping. I don't want to do it by
I
myself.
mean, this just helps with what we have talked
Yep.
about.
Okay.
Not a
So
problem.
It's not a problem whatsoever. It's just
Okay.
going to take a little bit to get info and then kind of get it up where I think it can kind of go.
Okay.
So I don't mind that at all.
I think some of the problems are that there are seniors that don't use computers.
Correct.
So we need to get to those folks
Mhm.
somehow.
It just needs to be a better communication piece
I
and
think
finding
so.
how that piece works and then going from there. But
Yep.
like I said, we're kind of like building it back up.
Okay.
If you're okay with that in
Yep.
that regard, and we will, when it comes to budgeting time, we will talk because we can bring that over and then we're going to have to explain that to
Okay.
people.
So it seems like we're okay with that approach and the seniors the ones that were there were okay with that too. So,
open to anything at this
So
point.
that takes care of action item D. And
The other one I had two other things, and one of them is the other item that we'll talk about. So the only other thing I'm waiting for a quote, as we've talked about before, about removing the lights at Dewey before they fall. They're circle whatever. You look at them, they're, and so I do have, after calling and a couple of different places, I do have somebody that has come out, and I'm just waiting for their quote to see what it is to just take the lights down, and then we could figure out to get the poles down, whether we just go chop, 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 which is what'll probably happen.
oh, that sounds like something in your.
Oh, we can drive. I'll drive with the lights on it.
No, we are not. No.
Right before he gets to your septic.
Yeah,
I can
right,
only
right. That's
fathom the glass. I didn't even want to go there.
Hey,
That'll be the
resod.
gift that keeps on giving for millennials.
Resod, it's perfect time.
Yeah, great.
Cover it
So
up.
anyway, I'm waiting to hear that. I don't expect it to be cheap,
No.
but the local companies have refused, to put it bluntly, to help out. So it will be a private cost that we will have to figure out and budget. But I'm just telling you, that's in the works because it makes me nervous when I go over there.
Green Mountain Power, they wouldn't,
I'm not. Let's just leave it off camera.
Yeah.
It's not. We're not going to talk about it.
okay.
They rest.
Yeah. It's a no.
So
Okay.
anyway, I just want you to know that's on the radar because that's big for me.
You know exactly how high they are?
They're high.
Yeah.
There's a company that can do it.
60 reach them? 60 feet?
No, I think it's got to be higher than that.
So I was
They're
wondering.
pretty tall.
Yeah. I was talking to one of the guys from CV that put them up. He thought they were 75-foot poles.
I wouldn't be
So-
surprised.
So it'd be 70 feet.
They're tall, and they just need to. And some of them aren't easy to get to. Like the 3 outers you can get from the driveway, but the inners, that's kind of an interesting.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to kind of figure it out. But I'm just letting you know that's in the process. That probably will not be cheap. But we can go from there. And then the last one is the founder's sign, whatever we want to call it. Would like to, I kind of dropped the ball a little bit. We did talk about it in committee before last year. I would like to get something going if we're good with some wordage, some type of a plaque that can be now mounted at the pool, but then it can be transferred if things move around, but just something that recognizes the people who got that park going.
Yeah.
Um,
Was this your research or this was provided to you?
this was in conversation with a past board member. I said, write something up.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not from, I don't know it. I'm not from
Oh,
here.
okay.
So
Okay.
I asked for help and they were willing and they did that. And then with the full understanding that it was going to get chop cut and
Yeah, and this
made.
is fine for like an article for the circle.
Right.
It's for a plaque, it's usually just
Basic and then
grateful
names.
appreciation to our founders and then the names. So,
I would agree.
so I think are we comfortable that we've got everybody who
Well,
was involved?
Mary, that's my question,
Okay.
Yeah.
is, because I go way back. I mean, I poured cement up at the fields. I hung upside down in the pit at the pool. I mean, back then, there was no money, so we did it. We did lawn mowing, we did, all kinds of stuff. My concern is this. First of all, I didn't like the idea of my name being on the plaque, but my concern is that somebody gets left off.
Yeah.
Because, and I think the only thing we can do is have Bill do the research for all the past people that ran recreation, like Pete Wallet and Tony Flory put a lot of time in. There's a lot of people that I don't want to see anybody's feelings hurt because we've got a plaque up there and they say, well, somebody didn't,
Yeah.
what about me? Because we did have a lot of people I mean, God bless them. If the Jim Baraldis, if the, Paul, I can't think of his last name right now, but they did a lot of work. Yes, I have a lot of information from that. But I don't want to leave somebody out. And people like Byron Hathaway that gave his time to help us out, didn't charge us a penny. Those are the things, just because you're not on the recreation, I was the commissioner for that umpteen years. But I think it's important, if we're going to do it, that you have to have everybody. And I don't want to leave anybody out.
So what year roughly, or years, did this whole thing come about? Because that's not in here at all. And well,
Oh, boy.
1970, well, that's the Recreation Ordinance, 1975, and a Summer Study Committee, 1975.
So it was in the 70s, Mary.
Okay.
And I mean, things were tight. There was no money.
Yeah.
And what has happened to Northwood, from what a whole group of us worked to do, is just, and Mike Rowe, and I hate to say this because
He's here.
I don't want his head too swollen.
Yeah.
But Mike Rowe is taking it to a higher level. And your hope is always that when you leave it, the next person comes along and adds to it. And that has happened. But I don't want to leave anybody out. I don't mind working with Bill to let him know what I know
Okay.
of the people, but
Why don't we start it there?
yeah,
Just a real basic phrase. So
Yeah.
if you could,
Yeah.
or
Real simple.
more real simple phrase, and if the two of, because I don't want to waste any money, so if you guys could get together and I come over, we can just get the names going
Okay.
and just try to go from there. And inevitably, no matter what, someone potentially will get left out. But the bottom line is that there needs to be something up there for the people that are still with us that put all that time in.
Yes.
So I don't really want to wait, because
Okay.
we've lost a few along the way,
Mhm.
and it's way overdue,
Okay.
because it's a beautiful
Yeah, no,
spot.
I think it's a great
So if we
idea.
could get like a
But-
blurb and then the names, boom, I think that's a sufficient and a very honorable way of honoring them
Mhm.
for
you
creating
know,
the
a
park.
simple statement of, we dedicate this plaque to all the people that built.
Could do that. And if you and Bill are finding that there are just too many moving parts, too many people maybe, and you're not sure you've gotten everybody, then the fallback is a general to all of those townspeople and others who helped.
Yeah, to please call us.
Well,
And-
no, I was thinking if it's a plaque without names,
Oh,
I'd
okay.
rather have names.
No,
If you can feel comfortable that you've gotten the people who
Yeah,
should be
I
mentioned.
think
Make-
we have to look
Make the
into it.
plaque extra long, and if more names come out,
I know,
we'll
we
take it
could.
down and get them.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah, all right,
I mean,
yeah, here, put it on there.
it's-
Well,
it's gonna
you
be-
know,
yeah.
it's the
Hangers
people
underneath.
that started it, the people that,
Yeah,
who headed up, like the Pete Wallets and that ran the pool, and that those names are important. They did
Yes.
the heavy duty.
Yeah.
We just helped out. I mean, because back then they just didn't have the money. And I don't want to leave anybody out.
well,
I would
I'd be
feel-
willing to work with you on very simple dedication. If you and Bill are willing to see if you can identify
Right.
those folks who should be recognized. Yeah, okay,
Okay,
all
perfect.
right,
Okay.
good, that's the plan.
And we'll shoot. We'll go from there. It's like, yes, research.
You're welcome, Bill.
Like I say, to all the people that made this possible, to especially Sharon Russell. That's all.
No, leave Sharon plus.
No, your name is, I see that.
And Bill for doing the research.
That's
Whoops.
all I have, unless you
Okay.
have, obviously soccer signups are going on for people that will watch this. Please online, there's 2 forms, please fill them out. And, people have gotten the word. I will send out another mass email this week and, moving forward. we're in good shape. It'll be here before you know
Sounds good. Okay,
Have
any
anything
more
else?
questions for our rec director, Mike Rowe?
it.
If not, thank you.
No
Appreciate-
problem. Go close the pool.
Glad things are going well.
Yes.
All right, so we have a number of other things. Has our town attorney checked in with us?
He's not.
Okay, let's move along with the agenda then. Is Larry Del Veneri on?
He's not. He said he was all set for tonight.
Okay. Dave Sears, Town Road Commissioner.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Dave.
I don't have a whole lot because we spent most of the last couple weeks working on the sidewalk on Post Road, which is coming along pretty decent. We did have a little bit of a dust up with the shared use path with the Boys and Girls Club, trying to use that to stay away from the Penstock construction site. And there was a little bit of a mess there for a day and a half or 2 days, but we figured it out, and it actually kind of looks like where the path is going to be is you can actually see it now. So that's a big help.
Good.
The paving on Post Road was finished by Fuller Sand and Gravel from Route 7 up to there was a seam on the hill just before the school. And then we went out, I believe it was last Thursday, and kind of marked the center lines for the state to pave that or to paint that when they get around to it. We got our roadside mower back yesterday, so we're back out doing roadsides, trying to push everything back as far as possible, 2-3 passes if possible, just to get everything back and ready for end of the season. And then the mower will go back to Mendon so they can do their fall cleanup with their a lot of their dirt road stuff. And that's kind of what we've been doing. And we spent a lot of time on this Post Road sidewalk. And then we did have a committee meeting yesterday. That would be your cue, Mr. Hathaway.
Okay. And Kurt's here, so he's going to fill us in.
Yeah.
You got any action items from the Highway Committee?
Yeah, so I came into the meeting a little late, but with my understanding, we talked with V-Trans about the Simons Avenue intersection project.
Mhm.
And I believe they were in favor of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We just
They
have
are.
to keep
Favor of it, yeah.
keep plugging away. More steps involved in that.
So I basically, we need to put out an RFP for some engineering to get a design and then submit that with a permit to V-Trans for their approval. But their V-Trans is on board. I did actually have a meeting with Phil Gowett, and he's totally on board with the whole thing. So I think this will be a pretty decent project when we're done.
Yep.
Okay. Do you need anything from us at this point?
Not for that project.
Okay.
And then there's some discussion about the loader repairs. It was just shy of $13,000 for the valve body that detonated.
Oh,
So, and then we also started to discuss what we're going to do with our highway depreciation account since we've added more equipment. We have to try to figure out what we need to bring our depreciation up to in order to keep pace with everything. And then we have the draft of the highway town driveway installation permit application, which we all agreed was good to approve.
okay. So on your desk is a highly colorful town driveway installation permit application. And it's one page of instructions and one page of, where the driveway will be. And then a page of special conditions. And then a place where looks like part of the application, a sketch plan, and then a inspection
Yeah.
place. And then at the very end, it looks like something from V-Trans highway standards,
Yeah.
for how it should be built. And you folks, the highway committee had a chance to review this,
Did.
and you're recommending it to us?
We're recommending for approval. Yep.
Okay. Is that a motion?
So move.
Right.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. The question I have is this, we have an ordinance in place. This is carrying out the ordinance?
Yeah.
Do we need to do anything with the ordinance, or is that okay?
I believe we did.
Did the thing with the ordinance.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
So
did do the thing with the
That was
ordinance.
streets and sidewalks. So this is, there's not much language that changed, kind of just the layout. Actually, the V-Trans standard did change.
Yeah.
So the new standards are included in this one. It just, the last one was put together quickly. This one was a little more in depth. So
Okay.
it's the information we need, but yeah, it helps. It answers a lot of questions that we get from people. So it makes the application process easier.
Dave and Bill went through it and
Yeah.
made it more user friendly, and they're the ones using it. So if it's friendly
Yes.
for them, then it's friendly for me.
Questions? If not, the motion's been made and seconded. Are you ready to vote? All in favor of adopting the town driveway installation permit application instruction and packet, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No no's, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Highway Committee. Anything else that you want to call to our attention?
That's all we had as a committee. You got anything else, Dave?
No, there's a couple things on here. I'm not sure if,
Yes,
Yeah.
action B is in my wheelhouse or not. I can help
yeah,
out
we
there.
were kind of wondering, but since,
That's where we threw it.
yeah. And we were,
He has just acknowledged.
oh, okay. Okay, so if you can wait a bit on that one, because town attorney, I had spoken with Kevin Brown and posed the situation, which is, and he has had conversations with the attorney for the Econo Car Wash folks. So I wanted him to weigh in on this, probably in executive session. But the question I posed is, do we completely do away with the agreement, or do we leave one property owner on subject to it and take the other off? So I think that's what we're going to be getting some advice on. But let me go down to the other action item in blue. And I guess this came from my question about where does the post road sidewalk end? And a little bit, which is, and why does it end before it actually hits Chazana? So if you could explain that again to me, I found that useful information, and it might answer a few questions from
So
townspeople.
the long range plan is for this sidewalk to connect to Chesana Drive and continue up Chesana Drive to the shared use path on the north end. There's nothing been designed or planned right now. So in order to end that sidewalk at Chesana Drive, we would have to make it ADA compliant. And the hill going up Chesana Drive, A, there's no sidewalk, and B, it's definitely not ADA compliant. And you can't actually end a sidewalk at a street entrance, because then you're putting people out into a street. So there's a whole bunch of different kind of legally ADA compliant things happening here. So the theory is to stop it at the driveway, which is not the preferred termination by anybody, us or the homeowner or pedestrians. But at this point in time, that's what it has to be, because we just can't do anything different. There's no, the other sidewalk hasn't been planned, hasn't been engineered, hasn't been anything, and we can't just dump people in the middle of the street. So in the committee meeting, we did discuss this, at the tail end, and, you know, obviously the next step is to maybe put together an RFP and get that out for an engineering firm to start designing the next phase of that and make that connection.
Okay.
Yeah, the blueprints show it stopping at that driveway.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get the ADA compliant thing, so, so Highway Committee, is this something, the RFP, is that something that we can move forward on, and who drafts that up? And
Yeah, I think
we probably have
we
one
can
for,
just go with Otter Creek as a preferred vendor. I do believe.
let's see how much it
Yeah,
is.
because they're the ones that designed this section. It would make the most sense to have Robert.
They designed
Clark
both sections, actually, they did the shared use path also.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, they did the shared use path, so it'd make the most sense to have them keep going. And we allowed them to engineer the box culvert on Stratton Road as well.
Okay.
We work well with them, and
Well,
it's
yes, yeah.
best to.
That was actually an RFP for that one. We put that out, and there
Was that not?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, that
there
was an
was to respond.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Well, if you have some sense of what it might cost, I mean,
can
if
reach out
it's,
to Clark and have him give us a quote.
yeah.
Now, there
I'm
was-
concerned if it's like $10,000, it's one thing, but if it's like $80,000, it's different. So if we have a sense of what it is,
Well, I think I think I'm not exactly sure what the original intent for that was, because it obviously happened before my time. I have a notion that it was to redesign the street and kind of maybe make it narrower or something. I'm not really sure, but Joe brought up in the committee meeting that maybe if we have enough room off the street, we may be able to, put it in the quote unquote green belt as it goes up the west side of the street. There's going to be some issues there because there's a couple culverts. There's a big culvert going into the pond. That's going to be the big issue, whether there's enough room between the street and the pond to be able to make something without putting in a bridge and all the craziness that entails.
yeah.
But then the other problem is really the ADA compliance on the hill. And as you know, in my other life, we put in a lot of sidewalks on hills that were totally not ADA compliant. If anybody knows where Grant Avenue is, you know what I'm talking about. That thing's almost vertical, and we did a sidewalk. Now that was an existing sidewalk that we replaced, so I'm not sure if that, putting in a new sidewalk as opposed to replacing a sidewalk might make a difference. We're gonna have to look into that, but that hill on Chesana coming off Post Road is not. I'm almost positive it's not a hill of sand. If we have to lower that ledge, it's going to be expensive to do, but we can definitely look at it. We'll see what it looks like.
Okay. All right. Right. I do want to, we've got now the two pieces coming together, and that's the last piece. So it would be nice to at least know what we're facing.
And again, we may not have to, because it's the lay of the land, we may not have to go jump through flaming rings of fire to put a sidewalk in there. It might be like, well, it's the terrain and it is what it is, and we're not going to redesign the earth for a sidewalk. But
Yeah, don't go up it with your wheelchair.
right, or have good brakes, one or the other.
Yeah, good brakes, full charge.
Well, we also may be able to, anyway, have a place where there would be handicapped access other than the school.
Yeah, we may be able to get crafty. There's some
Yeah.
research to be had.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else, Dave?
No, that's all I have.
Or highway? Okay. Anything from the select board? Okay.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Sewer- Yeah, don't go too far.
Nope.
That's the sewer maintenance agreement is, we need to have your input on that, I think. Have you?
Okay.
All right. And the highway committee is done. Who else have we got? And is Kevin standing by?
He's not logged on, but I told him about 7:30, so.
All right. Oh, 7:30. Okay. So let's see. Stand by, Dave, and we'll move on to Marcia Chioffi, Town Head Lister.
Good evening, everyone.
Marcia?
We had grievances were held on July 23rd. We only had 5, which we were thankful for. July 24th, results of grievance were sent out, and they have until August 6th, which is the 14-day, to appeal to the VCA. All the minutes and the videos of the grievance hearings have been posted on the website as per the Vermont State Open Meeting Law, which took effect on July 1st. The only grievance that we denied was to Velco. Velco grieved a $3 million assessment that was included with their real estate, and as per the state and PBR, they backed us up. So we were able to keep the $3 million into the real estate portion of their property.
I do want to mention that when we set the tax rate last week, we noticed that our tax rate was kept lower than we anticipated because the grand list had increased. So thank you. I know it wasn't you all by yourself or the listers all by themselves, but thanks for keeping an eye on that. And the direct result of your work is an increase in the grand list and therefore a decrease in the tax rate. Not as compared with last year, but still the tax rate is lower than it could have been. So thank you.
Right. Well, we had a lot of we had 58 properties that we assessed this year, and that brought the grand list up based on our assessment of improvements and new builds to the grand list. Also, there was some uptake in the business personal property, as well as some lowering of business personal property. But we also had several new businesses that we were able to put back on the grand list rolls.
Good. Well, it all paid off. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for the listers, our head lister, Marcia Chioffi? You were sitting back, so I couldn't see you.
Oh,
okay. I guess not. Thank you, Marcia. Have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Marcia.
You're welcome, Sharon.
Okay. Chris Clark, Town Fire Chief.
Just a couple things tonight. First, our new pickup truck should be here in like 3 weeks. So I kind of need to know what you guys want to do with the old one. I don't know if you guys set a price for it or anything to sell it, to see if someone on the department wants it.
It's like a committee meeting.
Yeah, I think we need a fire committee meeting, and we haven't had one for a while. So let's try in the next week or so to get one set up.
Okay.
Yep.
And number two.
Do you have? Yeah,
What?
sorry. Go ahead.
Number two, I got a phone call today, actually, and a visit at my place of employment from a guy that received a fire hydrant ordinance pamphlet. He's been taking care of this community for 5 years, has never seen one of these. Now the town says they're sending him a fine. So just a suggestion, maybe that you five or whoever writes the letters should write a letter telling them they're privately owned fire hydrants and not just sending him a letter of a fine he has to pay. But I talked to the city today. They are private. I think the city used to test them. He's new to taking care of this development and didn't know anything about it, so they haven't been done because no one ever said anything. But just for future, I don't know how many private fire hydrants there are, but I'd rather not get visits at my place of employment because we can't send a proper letter to these people. We're just sending them fines.
Yeah, Bill has a little information on that.
The letter he just received was the second one from this year. The first one we sent out earlier this year, and both letters specifically said there is not a fine. Like there was a whole sentence that says there are no violations at this time. So I'm not sure what he was reading, but the letter specifically said there is no violation at this time. We're making you aware that the ordinance exists, and we have received several inspection reports from different owners of these hydrants. So, Chris, I apologize, and feel free to give him my number and let me know who it is, and I'll be happy to talk with him because that was absolutely not what it said. So,
all right. Well, just for future, a nice letter would be nice instead of whatever it said, because I don't want like that at my place of employment ever again.
No, absolutely not. And that should not have nothing to do at all. So I have copies for you, so don't worry, I'll get them.
Yeah. So you're going to see what the letter actually said. Okay. Yeah. Good. Thank you for bringing that to our attention then.
Yeah.
And we'll set up are you in town the next week or so, Chris?
Yeah. For future, who tests fire hydrants? I have no idea other than Rutland City. Is there a company that does it? I mean, does anybody know?
Yes.
Or
yeah, there's a company the Green Mountain Plaza has used for several years, and they have said they're available to test them, and that's who basically has done. We've got them from Kalo Controls, we've got them from Adele Stanley, Green Mountain Plaza, and a couple others too. So it's a company out of Essex. It's actually a sprinkler company, but they're licensed to test them. So I did talk to the city, and they said specifically they will not test them for private owners.
Well, can you send me that tomorrow, like a name and phone number, so I can give it to the guy when I call him back tomorrow?
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Okay. So next, thank you. Oh, any other questions for our fire chief? Okay. Thank you, Chris. And Kari Clerk, town clerk and treasurer.
So, first question, you said you had to meet with the lawyer. Do I have just a couple minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
He's not up until 7:30, so you're okay.
Okay. So let's see. As you mentioned earlier, last week we set the tax rate. There was an article in the paper about it, so the public should be aware of it. I wanted to publicly put it in before the full select board tonight, for those that weren't at that Tuesday meeting, but it looks like some of those people are still not here. So the homestead rate that we set was a total tax rate of 1.7831. And then the non-homestead total tax rate is 2.0545 based on the grand list number of 10,000,000 $105,986.31. Basically, I won't go over everything that we went over on Tuesday, but I have had some questions about some basic things like, are my taxes going to go up? Yes, your taxes are going to go up. Your taxes are primarily going up because of the set rate from the education portion of it. Our town tax rate actually went down and the school rate went up. So the amount of money that you're giving the school is the portion that has increased the most, rather than keeping your money in the town to run it. It's just a small portion that your taxes actually stay in the town. And then I do have a quick, because I had a couple phone calls and they want to know, well, what does that mean? What is my taxes going to look like? Well, first of all, tax bills are going to be generated the beginning of August, which is in like a week or so. And then they will be sent out, and in homes, the goal is for August 10th, for the 10th, the tax bills to be in homes, because everyone has to pay by September 10th. So I get a lot of phone calls every single day. Are my taxes ready? Well, they're not quite ready, but you can do a real quick estimate on what you're going to be paying. I will try to explain it here. If there's any questions, they can certainly call the office about the math. But basically, you are going to take, so I'll give you the example of mine. There's two ways to do it, and you'll get the same exact answer, but you're going to take the non-homestead or the homestead rate, and you're going to, so our homestead rate, I get the homestead rate. So it's 1.7831. I convert that into dollars, which is $1,783. And if you go out a little bit more, it's 6 cents. You're going to divide that by 100,000. And then you're going to multiply that number by your assessment. And my assessment is found, well, everybody's assessment is found on your tax bill. Mine is $236,500. If I do that math, if I divide that and then multiply those numbers together, I'm going to come out with the exact amount of money that I owe in my taxes for the fiscal year. You just divide that by 3 and you'll get your installment amounts. Again, those are base amounts. They aren't before any help from the state. You should be receiving a letter if you're getting state payment help. If you don't receive a letter, that means you're not getting anything, or you didn't file your homestead. So again, make sure you filed your homestead. If you didn't, do it now. So that's one way to figure out your taxes. I do have another way, but I won't go into it just for time's sake. So that's the tax portion of what I'm trying to explain tonight. And then I did come to a number for capital improvements. This is a number that Andrew and I still need to talk about. There are some programming things that we need to discuss. So I'm not going to give you any backup, which is why I didn't give you any backup tonight. But the balance that we do true believe that is the capital improvements, and this is before any sweep over from this last fiscal year, is $834,443.07. And that is the amount before the sweep over. And then you have to consider all of your earmarks that you have earmarked in your meetings that haven't been allocated out yet. So that is your balance, $834,443.07.
Okay, and you're going to be working with Andrew, of course, on the final number.
That should be the final number. The thing that I have to work on him with is just the way our program has it set up. It's very, it's just not straightforward accounting. But you basically take the amount of surplus money that we've received since fiscal year 18. That's when it started. I did confirm with him already my math for the sweep over amounts each year. And then I did confirm the amount of expenses since the year that it opened until the end of last fiscal year. So he has confirmed those numbers. And if you net those two together, you are going to get the number I gave you as a balance.
Okay, great. Now, we did, as part of our setting the tax rate, agree to use money from the capital fund to pay the first two interest installments on the new McKinley Avenue Fire Police Facility. And I think that was, total was 70,000, 70, 75, 78, somewhere in there. So I did want to remind all of us that we need to also use a little bit of that 834,000 for those first two installments.
75,862.
75,862
And 82 cents.
and 82 cents. Okay.
That's a good question.
Yes.
Kari, I just want to clarify on the earmarks. You said we still need to account for those. So are you saying all the sort of old and cold stuff that was researched has been accounted for, but it's just the things that have been approved but not yet spent that is not reflected in the number?
Right. So everything that's reflected in the number has been approved and spent, and it's minus anything this fiscal year. Doesn't have this.
So it's just this fiscal year that's not reflected.
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have a sense of what that was? Anyone?
Well, no, that was Mike's depreciation account.
Well, we still have the part for the public safety building. And
Yes, that's,
we
one you
still
mean that
have,
just did for the cameras.
we still have the electrical upgrade.
That's in these orders.
So
Okay.
that's not, probably not calculated either.
There's an updated sheet, but it's not done yet. So
Yeah.
there's one.
okay.
And there's some other things we did. There's obviously the 78,000 we just did last meeting. And I want to say there's something else in there, but there may not be.
Okay. So we do have a few things. I think Kurt's going to put a sticky somewhere, right?
Oh, I already gave her a sticky
Oh, okay.
note last meeting. She's
Okay.
got it.
Very good.
We spent money. I gave it to her.
The spreadsheet updated to show that.
Okay, good. Good. Are you finding Bill's spreadsheet useful, Kari?
I found pieces of it useful, especially like the older stuff as far as minutes and stuff. But there's a couple of things that we tweaked on our end. Ultimately, again, I just want to remind, and I think you guys know this, that I'm in charge of the numbers and you guys are in charge of what has been allocated and what has been approved. So it really does come down to, I give you the numbers and you guys have to come up with what you earmarked, because it's really not, it hasn't been spent yet. So I
Gotcha.
gave my portion and you guys can take it from there.
Okay. We appreciate that. Just, as we do occasionally need reminders, we deal with a lot of stuff. So don't hesitate to remind us when we need to clarify something for you. Okay.
Yep.
I do have a question. This came up when we realized that our next select board meeting is August 13th. It's the same day as the primary election. And I'm assuming you're doing polling places at the school and here at town hall. And so our question is for us, and we wanted to include you in the discussion, should we change the date of our select board meeting, or should we just have it on the 13th, but maybe have it earlier, say at 5 o'clock, so that then this room would be available for the counting, the tallying of the ballots afterwards. So what's your input on that?
I don't see how we can have it on a Tuesday when we have to do select board orders, and I won't be around to do that. I'll be at the polls. So,
Okay, that actually answers my question. Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. So it looks like we need to move so if we move our next select board meeting, we would ordinarily move it to the Monday before. Are you able to get the orders done by August 12th?
I guess I will have to do one of those work on the weekend kind of things to do it.
Okay.
We could do the Wednesday, the 14th, if that worked, if that's any easier.
Is that any easier, Kari?
I guess it's your call. Go ahead and schedule it whenever.
Well, I'm asking you because you're the one who's got to prepare the orders and so on. And if you're working all day on the 13th, then it may not be practical. So do you have a preference between the 12th and the 14th?
Just do it on Monday.
Okay. All right. So let's set our next select board meeting for 6 o'clock on Monday, August 12th. And Bill, if you could warn that in the usual places. And thanks for your input on that, Kari. So, any other questions for our town clerk and treasurer? I think we did yeah. If not, that's it. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too. So Mike Delehanty is not on. Correct?
Correct.
All right. And that leaves Bill, committee reports, and Kevin and bids. So we've got a couple of folks who appear to be, or at least one person who is appearing to be waiting to hear about the bids. This shouldn't take too long. We sent out invitations to bid for propane at McKinley Avenue and Center Rutland Fire Station, for heating oil for Municipal Town Hall and the Town Highway Garage, and diesel fuel for our backup generators at Town Hall, the Highway Garage, Public Safety Building, Town School, and Pump Station. So those are what we received. So I'm going to proceed with opening, and then we'll decide how we're going to compare them. So first is from Johnson Energy. And if somebody with Bill, you're taking numbers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll collect those.
And you've got the minutes too. All right. So this is for the 2024-25 fuel contract. And this is mentioning that Johnson Energy has been preferred vendor. They will contract to deliver number 2 fuel oil to all properties of the town of Rutland at the following price for the period of September 1, 24 through May 31st, 25, at a rate of 40 cents per gallon over Johnson Energy cost on day of delivery, with a maximum capped rate of $2.999 for the contract period. And in parens, today's rate would be $2.949 for reference. And then it does not include any applicable taxes or fees, and deliveries must be on an automatic basis. So there's one, and that is for the Looks number 2 fuel oil. Okay. Next is Suburban Propane. And Suburban Propane will offer the town the following pricing. Price per gallon on state of Vermont negotiated variable rate will be 45 cents over Selkirk's Thursday price. Today's price would be $1.45297 per gallon. And the price on a fixed price will be $1.6956 per gallon, and that price would remain for the 12-month period. So that is propane, and that is from Suburban Propane. Procter Gas. And this is propane. Let's see. A fixed price bid to supply all propane needs for the town of Rutland. And they name the locations. Fixed price shall be $1.799 per gallon for the period of September 1/24 to May 31/25, unless otherwise stated for the. And then there are some other conditions in there concerning tanks that are defective and so on. So that is Procter Gas. Next is Irving. And the first one I'm opening, there's several Irvings. The first one is for propane. And that price is fixed propane, $1.672 per gallon. And variable propane on July 26th, $1.22 per gallon. And I was skimming, and then there are conditions, I think, concerning, I'll let whoever go over this. Wasn't clear how the variable rate would change. So, okay. Next is Irving Oil on the heating oil for town buildings. And this is a fixed rate of $2.975 per gallon. That's fixed. Variable heating oil on July 26th is $2.653 per gallon. Okay. And Irving Oil, and this is the diesel bid. Variable off-road diesel on September 26th, $2.834 per gallon. And then there are some fees that are not included, including an environmental fee of $0.01 and leaking underground storage tank fee of $0.1 of a penny. So those are our bids. What is your pleasure? We have several. Do we want to have Bill work them up and do a comparison sheet?
You want us to go over it in the building committee?
We can.
Probably. Yeah, we can do it at the same time you're here. Yeah, with Stephanie. So. Right. When are we doing that highway committee?
Well, I gotta check with Joe, and Dave's good, but I gotta check with Joe.
So
14th to 15th.
Yeah, we'll just plan it for that.
Okay.
For same people.
That's fine.
Okay.
Stephanie's gotta go first.
So we're going to refer these to the building committee because most of it's related to our buildings, except for the generators, which are tied to buildings.
It's
close enough.
So,
just stick them all in that folder.
okay, we're going to thank you all for bids. We're going to refer this to our building committee to do a chart and do comparisons and then report back to the select board so we can decide which bids to accept. So thank you all very much. Okay, that takes care of action item A. What we have left is action item B, which is the sewer maintenance and, an executive session. So is Kevin on? He is, all right. So
I'm here.
Okay, hi, Kevin. So we need to hear, I think, some legal advice on personnel issues, on litigation, on contract, and on contract. So and for the purposes of hearing our town attorney's advice on dealing with those issues. So I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for those purposes.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor of executive session, and who should we, I think we're going to include for the first one, the Highway Public Works supervisor. And we'll start with that. Okay. All in favor of going into executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you all. Out of executive session at 8:36. Is there any motion?
Yes, so I move that we rescind the sewer maintenance agreement with the Eco Wash, formerly several other things, originally the Ponderosa, in Denny's, that we authorize town council to send a letter to that effect and record a notice in the land records.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I will just add that we still have the underlying sewer ordinance, which would govern any issues in the future. So, okay. If there's no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. No opposed, motion carries, and we're good. Thank you. Any other motions? Oh, wait, we haven't heard from Bill yet. Let's,
Can't leave quite yet.
okay.
Okay, so get a few things done pretty well. I did send, Alice in the other room, I did send Chris a copy of the letter for the private fire hydrants, and no enforcement or penalty is being imposed at this time. Right in the letter.
Okay.
And it was on my letterhead, and it said to contact me if there's any questions. So I have no idea why they went to Chris, other than it being a fire hydrant. That was about as much of it they can do.
Let's also make sure that comes into the fire committee meeting. When
Yeah,
Sharon
absolutely. Well, the update to the private fire hydrant ordinance is on the committee list. So that's we started that a while ago. So yeah, absolutely, it absolutely is on there. So
Good, thank you.
Part of it's already part of the discussion when it happens.
All right.
So yeah, so I like Chris, I apologize, but I said it says there's no violation. We said we haven't been, just that thing. We haven't been enforcing this. We know we haven't been enforcing it. So it should be better. We'll take care of that.
And you're going to send Chris the information, or you did?
I did. I sent
about who does the inspections.
Yes, I did that too. Yep. It's all, he's got all the information now. Okay. So we're all set with that. We did have speaking of fire alarms, we had our fire alarm tested last week. Everything was great. Our new copiers have been installed and everybody's very happy. They're working, they are much faster and they're wonderful. Don't jinx them. Yeah.
That's what this is.
It does make it a little bit easier. I don't have as many steps in the day now because I don't think you walk back and forth to the offices. But
from yellow to
I'll give Mike a better color. Do you like that? Do you like having the color?
Actually,
okay.
That's a good way of doing
okay.
Because you guys okay with that?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I do have a color. So part of the highway committee meeting, we had briefly talked about the excavation permit also, and
excavation in the road,
in the right of way. Yeah. And we about coming up with a policy or ordinance around that. We have a permit which works most of the time. There was an issue a couple weekends ago where a contractor for a utility started digging across somebody's front yard. Did not have a permit, dug up somebody's cable line, sliced it in a few different pieces, and left. So word got around to me, and it's been taken care of. The parties have been all made whole, but we had no idea that it was happening. We had no idea who was doing the work. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't realize there was a city in the town," and I'm like, so.
Of course they do.
So we do have the excavation permit, but we don't really have anything that kind of in the background to like back it up.
We
So
don't have an ordinance.
not specifically that covers that. We like
Okay, we
when it
do.
comes to like the driveway, we have our streets and sidewalk ordinance, which does cover that, but it doesn't really get into excavation. So
Really? Working within the road. the
yeah, it
town's
didn't.
Right of way?
It doesn't really come under that. So there's state statute that does.
Okay.
But so having some it'd be a good discussion to have some possibly our own to cover that. So
So we got a couple of towns around us. who
there
have
are,
that?
yeah. Well, we talked about like Brandon, and Brandon
Yeah.
has one that talks about putting in telegraph lines. So there's might need some updating, but yeah.
No notes.
But that there was an issue. It was resolved, but it would be good to kind of take a look at our process behind that and make sure that we're covered, because there's a fair amount of digging that goes along. So, we have a request to use the meeting room on August 14th and from 7 to 9. And I've told them I will put it out there, but I don't have a whole lot of hope for someone jumping up and down to take responsibility to be here to open and close the building. So I'm going to give it a couple days. I've asked a few people, but nobody's really said like, yes, it's for a fire district meeting. Fire District 5 wants to use it for a meeting. So,
Is that yours?
Me? I don't know. I haven't heard about it.
But that's the 14th of August?
yeah,
Aren't we meeting on the 14th of August?
They're
No,
meeting
we're
on the
meeting
12th.
On the 12th.
Okay.
So I've told them that I've got to wait to see. It's not usually, I mean, nighttime meetings don't usually get a lot of, there's one group that wants to use it on a Thursday night and the planning commission's here. I'm like, great, you can meet downstairs. And as long as you're done by 8 o'clock, you're all set to go. So
Yeah, I've got to
Um,
make a request to have a caucus.
Mhm.
So, but I'll be here for that.
that's fine. And that's fine. So, but they don't have anybody that like, sometimes like when we have other groups that meet, like somebody in that group is tied to the building, so they can do that. So this just is a unique one. So I don't really have a lot of hope for that approval, but I'm gonna,
Pitzel Terrace.
Oh,
It's
that's
Fire
our
District
neighbor.
5.
So maybe we're 6. Can never
a
remember.
whole bunch of them. Marty and I put out the proposal for the local hazard mitigation plan update services. Remember, we have a grant to pay for that service. So we put out some proposals. We actually received 3, which was like, we were actually kind of surprised. We received one from the Regional Planning Commission, which we were expecting, one from a company called SafeWork, and one from a company called Delta Development Group. All 3 proposals were great. All things being equal, the Planning Commission was the least expensive, and Marty and I are very comfortable with using their services to work on this. So the next thing we would need to do is get from them a request to actual like contract proposal.
Okay.
So if it's all right, we would like to solicit the Regional Planning Commission for a contract for their services.
Okay. So we did 3 requests for proposals.
We sent out an RFP. We received 3 back.
Okay,
Yes.
that's good.
Marty, which is good.
That's good.
Marty and I reviewed them. They range from, they were all very close. The Regional Planning Commission was 9852. The next one was 10,165 and then 10,180. And our grant covers, we do have a small match, but the grant covers a majority of that cost. So,
Is there a motion to accept the proposal from the Regional Commission and ask them to send in a bid proposal or contract?
So move.
Is that the?
Second.
Okay,
that does it. Yep.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Thank you. So I'll have that. I probably won't have it for you next meeting, probably the week after, the one after that. And an update on JP's sidewalk project.
Yes.
We are now meeting. I've asked Joe, but I haven't heard back yet. But either the 14th or 15th, we will meet with Stephanie to go over the proposal we received from Stantec, which was we all agreed was the one to go with to start with. So we're going to go over that, and this process is glacial, but we're getting there. We're making headway. But this is to select the consultant to do the work, to put it out to bid, and yeah. So it's just
It's the reason why they say 6 years.
wow. It is. It's the next cog in.
Yeah, you know what's going in down
And that's
there.
why it's a $700,000 sidewalk.
You know what's
Because I
going in?
could probably build the thing for about 120 grand.
Do you know what's going in down there where Twitter's is?
No.
Was a deli.
Oh, I did hear that.
Sort
Yeah.
of what, a high-end takeout gourmet, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. They'll want some walk-up service then. We can put a
I do
sidewalk in right
remember
up front, so they
hearing
can.
There.
Oh,
Maybe
perfect,
they
yeah.
could like to contribute to the cost of the sidewalk.
Community easement. That's all we need. That'll
Feed the
that'll be
workers.
enough.
Well, if it's a high-end deli, you know, who knows?
Yeah. And so I will be out next week. We're leaving Friday afternoon, and I'll be back week after that. So
Okay.
I won't be here.
Anything fun? Is it vacation?
Oh yeah. We're out of town. So
Okay,
Yep.
enjoy.
yep.
He doesn't look too excited, does he?
We don't do a lot throughout the year. We really kind of like this is our week to get away and enjoy it. And all the kids are, well, most of the kids are going. We have most of them going with us. So it'll be fun. That's all I have. The last thing on the list was to discuss appointing a town lister. We did not receive any letters of interest.
Yeah, so we can't appoint somebody if there's no interest. We need to explore as we get either closer to the November election or next town meeting, what we do about the position.
We need to re-advertise it for now.
I actually, that's correct. So
Yeah,
would
so
you put another?
I can put it out
ad
there. I can keep
please?
it out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I did have one more thing. So yes, I will keep that out there as an open thing. I did get a call from the gentleman who works for the Vermont Agricultural Department to discuss our topic from the last board meeting about spraying chemicals in the town right away. And we had a very good conversation, and I'm going to put him in touch with Dave so they can talk. First of all, he was very, very happy to hear that we are aware that permits are required to do that, because he says, I am dealing with, I can't tell you how many towns that don't know that. We are required to have a permit for spraying in the right of way.
We
The
are.
public does not.
Interesting. So we didn't spray it, just to be clear.
We did
This
not
was
spray it.
Not us.
So the homeowner came in and did have some questions on our requests. So I will follow up with him and let him know that he's okay.
Interesting.
So the guy's like, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. But I talked to Dave for a while this morning, so I'm going to put Dave and him in touch so they can just be on the same. But he was very happy to know we were having a discussion on the topic, because many towns do not. And so as a town, we would need a permit to spray along the right of way, but a private homeowner does not.
Okay.
That is
makes a ton of sense. So what are these towns not having conversations about?
Spraying
Not
usually
doing
around
it?
guardrails.
Yeah,
They spray
Oh.
guardrails, and he said it's an unknown until we come knocking on their
Now,
door.
did you put in a call to them to ask, or they just
No.
heard about the fact that it was discussed and reached out?
There was a message left on the voicemail in the clerk's office and asking about it, and they forwarded it to me, and I gave him a call, and it was very nice, it was a very nice conversation, and like I said, he was more happy that we knew that we even knew we needed one. He was very happy to hear that. So, but I will follow up with them, and we did have the other ones, the cleaning up some of the debris in the right of way. I drove by this afternoon, and nothing's changed yet. We did give them some time, but nothing's changed yet. So,
Okay. Anything else for Bill? We did ask about progress on the subdivision revisions, and
oh, good.
that will move up the list, and about
Glacial
the
projects.
local health
Yes.
ordinance, and that will move up the list.
Okay.
And you may, on our behalf, or maybe we'll all just get a copy of Federal Wages and Hours Act stuff on
Oh
how
yeah.
certain employees have to be treated.
Exempt, non-exempt, and it's yeah. Yeah.
So he's gonna, so I've seen it before. He sent it through before, but he'll send it through again.
The league has a lot of resources on that too. There's
Yeah,
a bunch
I'm
of
sure they
information there.
will.
Yeah.
So,
Good. I'll be
Okay.
actually waiting to hear it.
I'm just, so the committee meeting reports, there was a brief townwide celebration committee meeting at 5:00. Any report on it?
Sure. Everything is pretty well taken care of. Mike is taking care of picking up the food, and he's gonna get the chips. And I'm gonna call them tomorrow about the condiments. So, and the paper plates, napkins, that's all taken care of. The DJ bill is taking care of that. We talked about possibly, with some of those canopies that for some of the seniors, it would be nice to have an area where they can sit.
Yep.
Not all of the seniors need a place to sit under
I
the.
found a good deal on one, so we'll get a couple.
So this senior doesn't need it, but there are folks in wheelchairs and, you know.
We can put your name on the top of the tent if you want to.
I'll give you a. You see the abuse I take. The ice, Kurt's taken care of.
Excellent.
And then, you know, we're gonna be doing some work at Dewey's and painting.
Yeah.
And kind of sprucing Dewey up a bit. So it's pretty much.
Pretty much covers it.
Yep.
Thank you much. Let's see. We need to have a personnel committee to continue slogging away at what should be a good solid draft of the personnel policy revised. So Matt and I have been through the whole thing. We've made comments to Teresa, and that's where we are. So we're waiting a draft, and then you guys get to see it and vote on it, hopefully. Fire committee needs to meet.
So if you would like to meet the week of the 12th,
August 14th at 7:00.
I have to check my schedule because I'm going to Maine.
Yeah, but just let me know by like Thursday afternoon
I'll call you
for
tomorrow.
that week, so that way I can get it out
I'll
before
give
I
you
go.
a call, Mary, and then see what you're.
Okay, yes, and I'll pull out my calendar. We'll
Okay.
get a couple of dates to Chris.
Chris is usually the X factor in
Yeah.
that one. So, but
Okay. All right, and let's see, I don't think any other committees met. We had a full report from the highway committee, so we're good there. Should we reconvene the water sewer committee? And start talking about some of
I
these
think we
things?
renamed them Public Works, so they've already
Yes.
got it.
So you've got it.
Did we
Okay.
group that together?
I
All
think we
right.
did. All right.
There will be some
Yes,
research.
it is the Public Works Committee. Yes, that is what it's.
Will be
it
some
is.
research hat.
So we've
A lot of
opened the bids, Bill and you guys?
We have a
No,
plan.
building committee.
We have a plan.
We've done the sewer maintenance agreement with Eco Car Wash, the founder's dedication. I've got research to do. Bill's got research with Sharon to do. I've got drafting to do. Town seniors and rec department, that's on our radar for when we're doing budgets. Capital improvement fund balance, we got a preliminary report from Kari. New town lister, we'll re-advertise. Post road sidewalk, we did have a discussion of that. Any other new items? We met in executive session and we had one motion coming out of that. I think that is it. Is there any motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded and third, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.